The battle for Earth orbit raged for 18 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 30 minutes. The battle lasted 18 hours, but the real war ended much faster. By hour 6, the Quorum fleet had lost over 400 ships. By hour 12, their formation had completely collapsed. By hour 18, only 86 Quorum vessels managed to escape into deep space. Their FTL drives finally restored as they fled beyond the Silence Pulse's range. 761 capital ships destroyed or captured, the largest military defeat in Quorum history, and it happened in less than a day. Commander Lee stood on the bridge of eternal dominance, now firmly under human control. Veshkar sat in restraints, watching his former command staff work under human supervision. Around them, Quorum crew members surrendered peacefully. They were not cowards. They simply recognized defeat when it stared them in the face. "You trapped us," Veshkar said quietly. "Everything. The failures. The diseases. The colony collapse. All of it was theater." Lee nodded. "We knew you were watching. We gave you a show. You saw what you expected to see. A young species dying from its own mistakes. You never considered that we might be smarter than we looked. How long were you planning this?" 3 years of active planning. But humanity has been preparing for first contact for over a century. We always knew someone was out there. We just didn't know if they would be friends or enemies. Veshkar looked at the tactical displays showing the destroyed Quorum fleet. "You fought with such ferocity, such coordination. We thought humans were divided, chaotic. We are divided about a lot of things. Politics, religion, resources, but when someone threatens all of us, when someone tries to destroy humanity, we stop arguing and start fighting. Together." Major Cho walked through Olympus Base, now fully revealed as the military fortress it truly was. Colonists stared in shock at the underground facilities, the hidden troops, the massive weapon systems. Many were angry at being deceived. Others were simply relieved to be alive. "Why didn't you tell us?" one colonist demanded. "We thought we were dying. We thought Earth had abandoned us." Cho understood their anger. Because the Quorum could read minds, not human minds, but they had ways of detecting lies. Every person they interrogated needed to genuinely believe Mars was failing. If you had known the truth, they would have detected it. The deception had to be complete. "So you let us suffer? Let our children cry themselves to sleep?" "Yes, and I will carry that guilt for the rest of my life." "But it kept you alive. Every single one of you. 0 civilian casualties during the battle. That was the goal. That was always the goal." Captain Song supervised the capture of intact Quorum vessels. The Ghost Fleet had taken 43 ships mostly undamaged. Inside them was technology that would advance human science by decades. FTL drives, advanced weapons, shielding systems, manufacturing techniques. But more valuable than technology was information. Quorum databases contained everything: star charts, diplomatic records, military intelligence, and most importantly, evidence. Dr. Kim worked through the captured files in her laboratory, translating and cataloging. What she found made her sick. 17 civilizations destroyed. The Quorum called it guidance, but the files told a different story. Species that refused to submit were sabotaged into extinction, economic collapse, biological weapons, environmental disasters. The Quorum would push a species to the edge, then offer to save them in exchange for total submission. Those who accepted became vassal states. Those who refused died. But there was something else in the files. References to something called the Remnant, an ancient civilization that disappeared millions of years ago. They had left behind technology caches hidden across the galaxy. The Quorum had spent thousands of years hunting down every species that found Remnant technology. Earth had found 3 Remnant caches, one in the Pacific Ocean, one in Antarctica, one on Mars. That was why humanity's technology had advanced so quickly. The Quorum had not been afraid of human nature. They had been afraid that humans might unlock what the Remnant had tried to preserve. Dr. Yun worked with Dr. Seo to analyze Remnant artifacts more carefully. They had been studying the caches for years, but always carefully, slowly. Now they understood why the Quorum had been so desperate to stop them. The Remnant had been building something. A great work, a project that spanned the entire galaxy, but they had been destroyed before completing it. Their caches were not just gifts of technology. They were instructions, pieces of a puzzle waiting for someone to finish what they had started. 3 months after the battle, Admiral Kang stood before the United Earth Assembly. Every nation was represented. For the first time in history, humanity spoke with one voice. The Quorum Collective has been exposed, Kang announced. Evidence of their crimes has been broadcast across FTL channels. 17 extinct civilizations, countless others enslaved. The galaxy now knows what they truly are. She pulled up holographic images of Quorum homeworlds. Human ships orbited each one. Not attacking, just present. A reminder. We are offering the Quorum terms. Complete withdrawal from conquered territories. Reparations paid in technology and resources. An eternal ceasefire treaty. Human space is now forbidden territory. Any Quorum vessel that enters the Sol system will be destroyed without warning. General Park stepped forward. The Quorum Council has accepted our terms. They have no choice. Their military is crippled. Their reputation is destroyed. Other species they oppressed are rebelling. The collective is collapsing. What about the other species? Someone asked from the assembly. The ones the Quorum conquered? Commander Silva answered. We are offering them alliance. The Terran Alliance. Free association of independent species. Mutual defense. Technology sharing. No empire, no domination. Just cooperation between equals. It was a radical idea. Most galactic civilizations were hierarchical. Someone always ruled. Someone always served. The concept of true equality between species was almost unheard of. 23 species accepted immediately. More would follow. Captain Tay received a commendation for his early detection of Quorum sabotage. Admiral Kang personally gave him his medal. You were right, she said. About everything. I am sorry I could not tell you sooner. I understand now, Tay replied. The deception had to be complete. Even from our own people, especially from our own people. The Quorum were thorough. They could have captured any of us. Interrogated us. If too many humans knew the truth, the plan would have failed. Tay looked at the medal, then at Kang. What happens now? We won the battle, but there is a whole galaxy out there. Kang smiled. Now we stop hiding. We stop pretending to be weak. Humanity takes its place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, as equals. Commander Lee was promoted to captain and given command of the captured flagship, now renamed Earth's Defiance. His mission was exploration. The Quorum files mentioned hundreds of unexplored regions, mysteries the Quorum had been too afraid to investigate. Lee would investigate them instead. Lieutenant Bay became commander of the new fighter academy. She would train the next generation of pilots. Thousands of young humans wanted to join after seeing the battle recordings. Humanity's navy would grow from hundreds of ships to thousands within a decade. Major Cho was given command of Mars' orbital defense. The planet was being transformed into a shipyard. Within 5 years, Mars would produce more military vessels than Earth. The Red Planet would become humanity's shield, always watching for threats from deep space. Colonel Han expanded the asteroid network. What had been 500 hidden platforms would become 5,000. No one would ever trap humanity in the Sol system again. The asteroid belt was now the most heavily fortified region of space in the known galaxy. Dr. Yun, Dr. Seo, and Dr. Kim formed the Remnant Research Institute. Their mission was to understand what the ancient civilization had been trying to accomplish. Early results suggested something extraordinary. The Remnant had been preparing the galaxy for something, building infrastructure that spanned millions of worlds. For what purpose? No one knew yet. But humanity would find out. Captain Song took Earth's Defiance and a fleet of exploration vessels beyond the galactic rim. The remnant caches pointed toward something in deep space, something the Quorum had been too afraid to seek. Song was not afraid. None of them were. Fear was for species that had something to lose. Humanity had almost lost everything. They had been hours away from extinction. Then they had turned the tables and won. What could possibly scare them now? Admiral Kang gave one final speech to Earth's population. It was broadcast across every human colony, every ship, every station. 3 months ago, we faced extinction. An enemy vastly superior tried to eliminate us. They failed. Not because we were stronger, not because we were smarter, but because we were patient. Because we planned. Because when they thought we were dying, we were actually preparing. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Quorum watched us for 200 years. They studied our wars, our violence, our chaos. They concluded we were dangerous and had to be controlled or destroyed. They were right about one thing. We are dangerous, but not in the way they thought. We are dangerous because we adapt. We learn, we overcome. Every disaster makes us stronger. Every crisis teaches us something. The quorum pushed us to the edge thinking we would bray. At exactly 0400 Earth Standard Time, Dr. SEO activated the silence pulse. The device was no larger than a briefcase, but its effect rippled across the entire solar system in less than a second. Quantum entanglement frequencies disrupted. FTL communication channels collapsed. The quorum fleet suddenly went deaf and blind to everything beyond their immediate sensors. Aboard Eternal Dominance, Commander Veshkar saw his communication console go dark. What happened? Restore FTL communications immediately. His technical officer worked frantically at the controls. I cannot, Commander. Something is interfering with quantum frequencies. All our ships are affected, all of them, every vessel in the fleet. We cannot communicate with homeworlds. We cannot coordinate between battle groups. Local communications still work, but nothing beyond 1 light second. Veshkar felt the first touch of concern. This should not be possible. Human technology was primitive. They should not be able to interfere with quantum systems. Find the source of the interference and destroy it. But it was already too late. Captain Song gave the order from his flagship far beyond Neptune. Ghost Fleet, power up. All ships execute attack pattern Omega. 200 warships came to life. Engines that had been cold for 6 months roared to full power. Weapon systems activated. Shields materialized around hulls. The Ghost Fleet began its attack run toward Earth orbit. They did not rush. They did not charge in recklessly. They moved in perfect formation, accelerating steadily using every trick of stealth technology humanity had developed. By the time quorum sensors detected them, they would be too close to stop. Colonel Han pressed the button that activated the asteroid network. Across the belt, 500 mining operations transformed. False rock faces split open. Hidden weapons emerged. Railguns swung toward pre-calculated firing positions. Missile tubes opened to space. Han had spent 2 years plotting every trajectory. He knew exactly where every quorum ship would be. The asteroids had been positioned specifically to create overlapping fields of fire. All batteries, Han said calmly. Fire. The first volley was pure kinetic hell. Thousands of solid metal slugs accelerated to impossible speeds by magnetic railguns. They covered the distance to Earth orbit in minutes. No warning, no time to dodge, just sudden, devastating impact. The first quorum capital ship died before its crew knew they were under attack. A railgun slug punched through its hull at 3% of light speed. The kinetic energy vaporized everything inside. The ship came apart like a toy. Then the missiles arrived. Not advanced weapons, not fusion warheads or antimatter bombs, just thousands of simple nuclear missiles, the kind humanity had been building for over a century. They swarmed toward the quorum fleet like angry hornets. Quorum point defense systems activated, shooting down missiles by the hundreds. But there were too many. Far too many. Some got through. Nuclear fire bloomed in Earth orbit as human warheads detonated against alien shields. Veshkar watched his tactical display in disbelief. Where did these weapons come from? The asteroids. They were hiding weapons in the mining operations. A railgun slug hit Eternal Dominance. The ship's shields held, but barely. Warning alarms screamed throughout the vessel. Return fire, Veshkar ordered. Target those asteroid installations. But before his weapons could acquire targets, a new threat emerged. Lieutenant Bay felt her submarine shake as the launch sequence initiated. Magnetic fields grabbed her fighter and pulled it upward through the launch tube. Water rushed past. Pressure mounted. Then suddenly she was free, breaking through ocean surface, atmosphere, and gravity in one continuous acceleration. Her fighter's engines ignited as she reached space. Around her, dozens of other fighters appeared, all launching from different points across Earth's oceans. Within 60 seconds, over 4,000 human fighters were in space, rising toward the quorum fleet. The quorum had never seen anything like it. Ships launching from underwater? Impossible. Yet there they were, small and fast, swarming upward in attack formations. Bay targeted a quorum destroyer. Her weapons were simple. Kinetic cannons and short-range missiles. Nothing fancy. But she was fast, and the quorum shields were designed to stop big weapons, not swarms of small ones. She fired her entire payload at point-blank range. Kinetic rounds hammered the destroyer's shields. Missiles followed, detonating in rapid succession. The shield collapsed. Her final burst of kinetic fire punched through the hull. The destroyer began to tumble, atmosphere venting from dozens of holes. Multiply that by 4,000 fighters all attacking simultaneously, and the Quorum fleet started to hemorrhage ships. Then Luna Base activated. Engineer Nam watched his power displays spike to maximum. The entire dark side of the moon lit up with weapons fire. Particle beams lanced out, each one carrying enough energy to boil oceans. They crossed the distance to Earth orbit in seconds and burned through Quorum ships like paper. Missile batteries fired in continuous volleys. Thousands of missiles. Tens of thousands. The moon had been storing ammunition for 3 years. Now it unleashed everything. Kinetic accelerators threw chunks of lunar rock at relativistic speeds. They hit with more force than nuclear weapons. Quorum ships simply disintegrated under the impacts. In 90 seconds, Luna Base destroyed 43 capital ships. Veshkar could not believe what he was seeing. The moon was supposed to be dead. They had destroyed it months ago. How was it firing? How did it have this much power? We were deceived, his tactical officer said, voice shaking. This entire operation was a trap. They let us think we were winning. Another railgun slug hit Eternal Dominance. This time the shields failed. The slug tore through the ship's midsection, destroying half the engineering deck. The ship lurched violently. "Get us out of orbit," Veshkar ordered. "All ships retreat to defensive positions." But there was nowhere to retreat to. Captain Song's Ghost Fleet arrived at maximum attack speed. 200 human warships built specifically to fight this battle. They were smaller than Quorum capital ships, but they were faster, more maneuverable, and they knew exactly how to exploit Quorum weaknesses. Song's tactical displays showed him everything. The Quorum fleet was in chaos. No coordination. No communication. Every ship fighting alone. Perfect. All ships weapons free. Target capital ships first. Remember your training. Short bursts, constant movement, never stay still. The Ghost Fleet tore into the Quorum formation like wolves among sheep. Human captains had spent years studying Quorum tactics. They knew the aliens preferred standoff combat, using long-range energy weapons, so humans stayed close, forcing knife-fighting ranges where their kinetic weapons had advantage. The battle was not elegant. It was brutal, grinding, and desperate, but it was working. Major Cho watched from Mars as Quorum ships in orbit began dying. She keyed her internal channel. All units opened the doors. It's time. Across Olympus Base, hidden hangar bays opened. 3,000 fully armed soldiers emerged in combat armor. Fighter craft launched from underground facilities. Missile batteries rose from beneath the Martian soil. The Quorum ships blockading Mars suddenly found themselves under attack from a planet they thought was helpless. Missiles rose in swarms. Fighters engaged at close range. Even the base's defensive weapons, supposedly broken, activated and joined the fight. On Earth, Captain Tay stood at his battle station, watching in absolute shock as the battle unfolded. The asteroids, the submarine fighters, Luna Base, the Ghost Fleet, Mars fighting back, all of it hidden, all of it prepared, all of it waiting for this exact moment. He understood now. Admiral Kang had not ignored his warnings. She had been way ahead of him. Years ahead. Everything he thought was failure was actually preparation. All stations, Kang's voice came over the command channel. Press the attack. They cannot coordinate. They cannot retreat. We have them exactly where we want them. Aboard Eternal Dominance, Commander Lee heard the chaos and knew it was time. His cell door was not particularly strong. It was designed to hold a defeated human, not a special operations soldier who had been planning escape for weeks. Lee kicked the door 3 times in exactly the right spot. The locking mechanism broke. He stepped into the corridor just as his 4 fellow soldiers emerged from their cells. Phase 2 complete, Lee said. Time for Phase 3. Let's take this ship. The Quorum guards did not expect resistance. They were dealing with an overwhelming attack from outside. Internal security seemed less important. That was their mistake. Lee and his team moved through the ship like ghosts. They had mapped every corridor. They knew where every vital system was located. 5 humans against thousands of aliens should have been suicide. But the humans had studied Quorum tactics for 3 years. They knew how the aliens fought. They knew their reaction times. They knew their weaknesses. More importantly, the Quorum had never fought humans in close combat. They did not know what humans were capable of when cornered and desperate. Lee's team reached the bridge in 12 minutes. They killed 18 guards on the way, losing none of their own. When they burst onto the bridge, Veshkar turned in shock. "How did you escape?" "This is impossible." Lee raised his weapon. "You should have studied us better. You watched us for 200 years, but you never understood us. Humans don't give up. We don't surrender. And we definitely don't forget." The Quorum celebrated aboard their command carriers. They had won without firing a shot. Earth's governments were in chaos. Mars was begging for mercy. The human military seemed paralyzed with fear. Everything was proceeding exactly as it had with the 17 civilizations before. Commander Veshkar stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominance, watching Earth rotate below. The planet was beautiful, blue and green and white, full of life, full of potential, but potential was dangerous. Better to guide it, control it, or if necessary, eliminate it. Status of human compliance. Veshkar asked his tactical officer. They are arguing among themselves. Some want to surrender, others want to fight, but their weapons are primitive. Their ships are slow. They pose no threat. Veshkar felt satisfaction. This was always the pattern. The young species fractured when faced with superior power. They fought each other instead of the true threat. It made the Quorum's work easier. What Veshkar didn't know was that every argument, every protest, every desperate plea was staged. Human actors performed for Quorum censors. Politicians gave speeches designed to sound weak and divided. Military officers held press conferences where they admitted having no plan. Colonel Han watched from his asteroid command post as Quorum ships settled into their positions. The aliens were thorough. They had vessels positioned at every orbital altitude. They controlled all approach vectors. No ship could leave Earth without passing through their blockade. It was exactly what humanity needed. Han's mining operation looked like dozens of others scattered through the asteroid belt. Old equipment, slow computers, tired workers extracting minerals from dead rocks. The Quorum had scanned these operations months ago and dismissed them as harmless. They never scanned deep enough to find the massive railguns hidden inside the asteroids. They never detected the nuclear missiles camouflaged as mining explosives. They never noticed the quantum-shielded communication arrays that let Han talk to every other mining operation in the belt. 500 asteroids, 500 hidden weapons platforms, all aimed at Earth orbit. Lieutenant Bay sat in her submarine 300 meters below the Pacific Ocean surface. Her vessel was designed to launch spacecraft, an idea so crazy that the Quorum never considered it possible. You can't launch ships from underwater. The pressure would crush them. The water would interfere with engines, unless you understood physics better than the enemy expected. Dr. Seo had spent 15 years developing the launch technology. Magnetic acceleration combined with gravity manipulation taken from captured Quorum probes. The submarines could fire small fighters straight up through the ocean, through the atmosphere and into space in under 40 seconds. Bay commanded one of 83 such submarines. Between them, they carried over 4,000 fighters. The Quorum didn't even know they existed. Far beyond Neptune, Captain Song walked through the flagship of the Ghost Fleet. 200 warships, built in absolute darkness and silence over 30 years. No one on Earth except the highest command knew they existed. The Quorum certainly didn't. Song's ship was called Retribution. It seemed like a good name for what was coming. The Ghost Fleet had been drifting inward for 6 months, their engines cold, their systems powered down to minimum. They looked like debris, space junk, natural objects caught in the sun's gravity. The Quorum sensors swept past them hundreds of times without noticing. Now they were in position. Still dark, still silent, waiting for the signal. Dr. Seo sat in her laboratory beneath Sol, surrounded by captured Quorum technology. She had been one of the first humans to touch alien equipment. For 3 years she had been taking it apart, understanding it and finding its weaknesses. All 5 Quorum species used the same basic technology. That was their strength. Ships could work together seamlessly. Communication was instant across light years. Coordination was perfect. It was also their greatest weakness. Everything ran on quantum entanglement, one frequency band, one communication protocol. The Quorum had used this system for thousands of years. Why change what worked? Dr. Seo had built a device that could broadcast a counter-frequency. It would disrupt quantum entanglement across the entire solar system for approximately 18 hours. The Quorum ships would lose all FTL communication. They couldn't call for help. They couldn't coordinate attacks. They would be isolated units instead of a unified fleet. She called it the silence pulse. In 3 hours, she would activate it. Engineer Nam worked in the hidden sections of Luna Base, making final preparations. The base looked dead from outside. Dark windows. No power signatures. The Quarium attack months ago had been successful. In reality, that attack had been allowed. Human engineers had opened specific vulnerabilities in Luna's shields. The Quarium weapon struck exactly where humanity wanted, causing dramatic but superficial damage. Civilians were evacuated loudly and publicly. The base went dark. But beneath the surface, 10,000 workers had been transforming Luna into a fortress. The entire dark side of the moon was now one massive weapons platform. Particle cannons that could vaporize ships at 100,000 kilometers. Missile batteries that could saturate orbital space with warheads. Kinetic accelerators that could throw chunks of lunar rock at relativistic speeds. Nam checked the power systems one last time. Everything was ready. When Admiral Kang gave the order, Luna Base would light up like a second sun. Aboard Eternal Dominance, Commander Lee played his role perfectly. He sat in his cell looking defeated. Quorum guards brought him food and water. They were not cruel. They saw no point in cruelty toward a defeated enemy. Lee had been counting. 5 guards rotated shifts. They walked predictable patrol patterns. The corridor outside his cell connected to 3 main passages. 2 led to ship systems. 1 led to the bridge. 4 other captured humans were scattered through the ship. They looked like defeated prisoners, but they were the best special operations soldiers Earth had ever trained. Each one had a specific mission when the time came. Lee had also been observing the Quorum crew. They were efficient but overconfident. They assumed humans were no threat. Guards weren't particularly alert. Security protocols were minimal. Why guard against an enemy that had already lost? That overconfidence would kill them. Major Cho gave a speech to the Mars colonists. She stood in the main dome looking out at the gathered people. Thousands of scared faces, children crying, adults holding each other. "I know you're afraid," she said. "I know this seems hopeless. But I need you to trust me for 3 more hours. Just 3 more hours," the colonists didn't understand. 3 hours until what? Surrender? Destruction? But Cho's officers understood. Beneath the base, secret troops were moving into position. Underground factories were loading final ammunition shipments. Hidden hangar bays were preparing to open. Mars was about to stop pretending. Admiral Kang stood in the Antarctic Command Center, watching the final countdown. 2 hours and 47 minutes until the ambush began. She felt calm. 3 years of planning were about to pay off. "All units report ready," General Park said. "Ghost Fleet confirms position," added Commander Silva. "Asteroid batteries armed and targeted," Colonel Han reported. "Submarine fighters ready for launch." Lieutenant Bay confirmed. "Luna Base charged to full power," Engineer Nam stated. "Silence pulse standing by," Dr. Seo announced. Kang looked at the holographic display. The Quorum fleet surrounded Earth like a cage. 847 capital ships. They thought they were unbeatable. They thought humanity was finished, Captain Tay, Kang said into her private channel. The captain appeared on her screen, still believing Earth was dying, still frustrated that no one listened to his warnings. "Yes, Admiral, you were right. Someone was sabotaging us. I'm sorry I didn't tell you before. I'm telling you now because in 3 hours you're going to see something impossible. When you do, I need you to trust that everything that happened was necessary." Tay looked confused.
"Admiral, I don't understand. You will."
"I promise. Now get to your battle station. We're about to go to war." Kang ended the call before Tay could respond. She turned to her command staff. "Gentlemen, ladies, we've been preparing for this moment for 3 years. 17 civilizations before us died because they fought the Quorum the traditional way. We're not going to do that. We're going to show them what happens when you underestimate humanity." She pulled up the battle plan one final time. Every element was in place. Every unit ready. The Quorum had no idea what was about to happen. "All units, this is Admiral Kang. In 2 hours and 30 minutes, we stop pretending. We stop looking weak. We stop acting scared. In 2 hours and 30 minutes, humanity shows the galaxy who we really are." Across the solar system, from the asteroid belt to beyond Neptune, from beneath Earth's oceans to the surface of Mars, thousands of soldiers heard her words. They checked their weapons. They said quiet prayers. They thought about everyone counting on them. The trap was set. The enemy was in position. All that remained was springing it. Commander Veshkar looked at Earth one last time before the deadline. Beautiful planet. Shame it produced such a dangerous species. But the galaxy would be safer with humanity contained. He had no idea that in a few hours his entire fleet would be fighting for survival. The countdown continued. Humanity held its breath. Commander Lee checked his instruments one last time before launching. The supply run to Mars was supposed to be routine. Food, medicine, replacement parts for the struggling colony. His crew of 23 was tired but ready. The ship, Indomitable Spirit, had made this journey 40 times before. But Lee knew this trip would be different. 3 weeks ago, Admiral Kang had called him to a private meeting. She told him things that seemed impossible. Aliens, sabotage, a coming war. She gave him orders that terrified him. "You're going to be captured," she had said, "and you're going to let them take you." Now, as Earth fell away behind him, Lee wondered if he would survive what came next. Major Cho stood in the Mars Command Center, watching supply ship trajectories. Olympus Base was struggling, or at least it appeared to be. Half the hydroponic gardens had failed last month. The backup water filtration system was running on emergency power. Food was rationed. People were scared. None of it was real. Cho walked through the damaged sections every day. She saw the fear in colonists' faces. They believed they were dying. They had to believe it. Anyone the Quorum captured and interrogated needed to give the same story. Mars was failing. Earth couldn't help. Humanity was finished. Only Cho and 14 other officers knew the truth. Beneath Olympus Base, hidden behind false walls and fake equipment failures, was a military installation that could rival anything on Earth. 3,000 soldiers waited in secret quarters. Weapons filled hidden armories. The failed gardens were covers for underground manufacturing facilities producing ammunition and armor. Mars wasn't dying. Mars was a loaded gun aimed at whoever came close enough. Lee's ship reached the halfway point when his sensors started screaming. Multiple contacts. Big ones, moving fast. He activated the emergency channel. "This is Indomitable Spirit. I have unknown vessels approaching. They're not broadcasting identification." The response from Earth came immediately. "Spirit, can you evade?" "Negative. They're too fast. They're surrounding us." Lee's hands moved across the controls, but he wasn't trying to escape. He was positioning his ship exactly where it needed to be. His crew didn't know. They thought this was a real attack. Their fear would sell the deception. The alien ships were beautiful and terrible. Smooth surfaces that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Energy signatures that made human technology look like stone tools. They were massive, each one 3 times larger than Spirit. Lee's communication system activated without his input. A voice spoke. The words were translated by technology humanity didn't possess. "Human vessel. You will cease all movement. You will prepare for boarding." Lee looked at his crew. "Do exactly what they say." When the Quorum soldiers entered Spirit, Lee memorized everything. Their armor, their weapons, the way they moved, the language they spoke to each other. Every detail would matter later. The Quorum commander was tall, with skin that shimmered purple and gold. 4 arms, each ending in 3 delicate fingers. Eyes that saw into spectrums humans couldn't detect. "You are Commander Lee," the alien said. "We know your rank. We know your mission. Your species is dying, human. This supply run is pointless. Mars will fall. Earth will fall. It is inevitable." Lee made himself look defeated, scared. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you would have become dangerous. We have watched you for 2 centuries. Your growth, your violence, your ambition. We end such threats before they mature. We never did anything to you." The Quorum commander tilted its head. "That is precisely why you must end. You have not encountered us, yet you already reach for the stars. In another 100 years you would challenge us. In 200 you would surpass us. We do not allow that." Lee was taken to the Quorum command ship. His crew was confined but unharmed. The aliens were not cruel. They were simply efficient. Humanity was a problem to be solved, nothing more. What the Quorum didn't see was the small device Lee had activated before they boarded. It transmitted on frequencies the aliens couldn't detect. Every word the commander spoke was recorded. Every moment was transmitted back to Earth through quantum channels Dr. Yun had designed specifically for this moment. Back on Earth, Admiral Kang listened to the transmission with her command staff. They're overconfident. Perfect. On Mars, Major Cho watched her sensors as quorum ships appeared in the sky. Dozens of them. They didn't attack immediately. They established orbit, positioning themselves around the planet like a cage. A message came from the alien fleet. It was broadcast on every human frequency, audio and video, impossible to miss. The quorum diplomat appeared on screens across Mars and Earth. Its voice was calm, almost gentle. Humans of Earth and Mars, your species has been selected for guidance. Your expansion has been chaotic and dangerous. Your wars have been brutal. Your technology has been reckless. We are the Quorum Collective. We have guided 143 civilizations to stability and peace. We will guide you as well. Cho watched colonists gather around screens, listening in horror. You will deactivate all military vessels. You will surrender all space-based installations. You will accept Quorum oversight of your development. If you comply, you will be allowed to survive. If you resist, you will be removed. You have 48 hours to respond. The message ended. Across Mars, people started crying. Some fell to their knees. Others stared at the sky in disbelief. Cho activated her private channel to Earth. They bought it completely. They think we're helpless. Admiral Kang's voice came back steady and cold. Good. Let them think that for 46 more hours. Then we'll show them who's helpless. On Earth, the Quorum fleet was already moving into position. They appeared in orbit like ghosts, their stealth technology far beyond human capabilities. Except humanity had been studying that stealth technology for 3 years. Dr. Kim activated the Cassandra protocol from her lab in Seoul. It was a quantum communication network that couldn't be jammed, intercepted or detected by Quorum sensors. Every human military installation, every hidden base, every secret ship received the same message. Phase 2 confirmed. Enemy forces in position. Maintain deception for 46 hours. Then execute. Across Earth's oceans, submarine bases received the signal. Beneath the Antarctic ice, Admiral Kang confirmed receipt. In the asteroid belt, Colonel Han read the message and smiled. Far beyond Neptune, Captain Song checked his watch aboard the Ghost Fleet flagship and began final preparations. The Quorum had no idea what was waiting for them. Commander Lee sat in his cell aboard the alien command ship, watching the stars through a small window. The Quorum guards thought he was defeated. They saw a scared human captain who realized his species was finished. They didn't see the small smile on his face. They didn't know about the 5 other captured humans aboard this ship, all specially trained for what came next. They didn't realize that Lee had mapped every corridor, every control station, every weakness in this massive vessel. 46 hours, he thought. Then we stopped pretending. On Mars, Major Cho gave orders to her secret troops. They moved through hidden passages, checking weapons and armor. The underground factories increased production. Within 2 days, Mars would need every bullet, every missile, every weapon they had built. On Earth's moon, Luna Base appeared dark and lifeless. The Quorum had sabotaged it months ago, or so they believed. In reality, humans had used the attack as cover to evacuate civilians and militarize the entire installation. Now Luna Base was the largest weapons platform in the solar system, sitting dark and silent, waiting. Admiral Kang looked at the holographic display showing Quorum positions. 847 capital ships, thousands of smaller vessels, more firepower than humanity had ever imagined. They brought their entire invasion fleet, General Park said quietly. Just as we hoped, Kang replied. They wanted to crush us completely. Show other species what happens when you grow too fast. They committed everything, and trapped themselves in the process. Kang nodded. The Quorum had clustered their forces around Earth and Mars. They were in close orbit, perfect attack positions against helpless planets. But those same positions were perfect kill boxes for an enemy they didn't know existed. Humanity had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Every failure had taught them something. Every sabotage had given them data. Every crisis had been another piece of the trap. The Quorum thought they were predators circling wounded prey. They didn't realize they were standing in humanity's ambush. Captain Tay sat in his quarters aboard the defense station, staring at the data on his screen for the 5th time that week. Something was wrong. Very wrong. But nobody wanted to hear it. 3 mining operations had failed in the last 6 months. 2 colony ships had mysteriously lost power before reaching Mars. A disease had swept through the Luna settlement, killing 47 people. The official reports called it bad luck. Tay called it a pattern. He pulled up another file. 5 years ago, Earth's best fusion reactor had exploded during its final test. The investigation blamed human error. 2 years after that, the quantum communication network went dark for 3 weeks. Equipment failure, they said. Last year, the Mars water extraction facility collapsed, forcing 1,000 colonists to evacuate back to Earth. Tay made a list. Every incident, every failure, every death. When he mapped them on a timeline, he saw something that made his blood run cold. They were accelerating. 1 major failure every 2 years, then 1 every year. Now 3 and 6 months, someone was pushing humanity backwards. Someone was trying to kill them slowly. He requested a meeting with Admiral Kang 3 times. She finally agreed to see him on a Tuesday morning. Tay brought his files, his charts, his evidence. He laid it all out on her desk. "Admiral, this is not coincidence. Someone is sabotaging us. These failures are too precise, too perfectly timed to cripple our expansion." Kang studied his charts. Her face remained calm, unreadable. After a long silence, she looked up at him. "Captain Tay, I appreciate your dedication, but you're seeing patterns where none exist. Space is dangerous. We're a young species learning hard lessons. That's all this is." Tay felt frustration rise in his chest. "Admiral, with respect, the probability of all these incidents being random is—" "That will be all, Captain." He left her office angry and confused. Kang was one of the smartest officers in the fleet. How could she not see it? What Tay didn't know was that Admiral Kang saw everything. She had seen it 3 years ago, long before he noticed. And she wasn't alone. That evening, Kang entered a secure room deep inside the Antarctic Command Center. 6 other officers waited for her. General Park from the Asian Defense Coalition, Commander Silva from the Americas, Director Okoro from the African Union. Each represented a different part of Earth's military structure. Tay figured it out, Kang said as she sat down. "Is he a problem?" Silva asked. "No, he's exactly what we need. Smart enough to see the truth, but not smart enough to see the bigger truth." Park pulled up a holographic display. It showed the same incidents Tay had documented, but with additional information. Next to each human failure was a data spike. Energy signatures, communication intercepts, quantum fluctuations. "The Quorum have been busy," Park said. "They caused the reactor explosion. They infected Luna with a biological agent. They sabotaged our colony ships," Kang nodded. "And we've let them." Every single time, Okoro smiled grimly. The Mars facility was particularly convincing. "Our people barely escaped in time." "It had to look real," Kang replied. "The Quorum have been watching us for 200 years. They needed to believe we were failing naturally. 3 years ago, Earth's deepest space probes had detected something unusual, ships that appeared for microseconds before vanishing. Energy patterns that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. Earth's brightest scientists studied the data for months before reaching a terrifying conclusion. Humanity was being watched by something far more advanced. Then they found the first probe. It was hidden in the asteroid belt disguised as rock. Dr. Yun and her team spent 8 months studying it without triggering its self-destruct mechanisms. What they learned changed everything. The probe belonged to the Quorum Collective, 5 alien species working together. They had been observing Earth since the early 1800s, and they were afraid. The probe's database contained files on 17 other civilizations, all of them younger than the Quorum, all of them destroyed. The Quorum's method was elegant and cruel. They didn't invade. They sabotaged. They pushed developing species into chaos, economic collapse, and self-destruction. Then they waited for the civilization to die quietly. Humanity was next on their list. But the Quorum made one critical mistake. They assumed humans would react like the other 17 species. They expected panic, division, and collapse. Instead, Earth's leaders did something unexpected. They united in absolute secrecy and started planning. For 3 years, humanity had been running the greatest deception in history. Every failure, every crisis, every setback was theater. The Mars facility didn't collapse by accident. Earth's engineers rigged it to fail at the exact moment when Quorum surveillance would be watching. The colonists who evacuated actually went to hidden bases on Phobos and Deimos, Mars's moons. The disease on Luna wasn't disease. It was makeup and acting. Those 47 people were alive and well, working in secret laboratories beneath the lunar surface. Dr. Yun and engineer Park Sora led the real work. Every time the quorum sabotaged something, human scientists were there studying it, recording it, learning from it. They captured quorum technology pieces by pieces. They analyzed the energy weapons that destroyed the reactor. They dissected the biological agent from Luna. They reverse-engineered quantum interference patterns from the communication blackouts. Humanity was building a complete database of quorum capabilities. Their weapons, their tactics, their technology, and most importantly, their weaknesses. Kang pulled up another display in the command room. Park Sora's team finished the analysis yesterday. We now have full specifications on quorum ship construction. Dr. Yun confirmed their FTL systems use quantum entanglement on a single frequency band. One frequency, Silva said softly. One vulnerability. Exactly. We can shut down their entire communications network with one pulse. Park leaned forward. The question is timing. When do we spring the trap? When they commit fully, Kang replied. Right now they think we're dying slowly. They're patient, but our projections show they'll lose patience within the year. When they see Earth truly failing, they'll move in for the final strike. Okoro nodded. And that's when we'll have them exactly where we want them. The officers reviewed their preparations. The Ghost Fleet was 90% complete. 200 warships built in the darkness beyond Neptune, invisible to quorum sensors. The asteroid defense network was operational, disguised as mining operations across the belt. Luna Base was fortified beyond anything the quorum could imagine. Earth wasn't dying. Earth was preparing for war. Captain Tay would understand eventually. But for now, his frustration served a purpose. If he believed Earth was failing, the quorum would believe it too. Humanity needed to appear weak, divided, and desperate. The trap was set. All that remained was waiting for the predators to step inside. Admiral Kang looked at her fellow officers. Let them think they're winning. Let them think we're too stupid to see what they're doing. When they finally reveal themselves, we'll show them what humanity really is. Outside the window, Earth rotated peacefully in space. It looked vulnerable, alone. Perfect prey for an advanced alien civilization. That was exactly what humanity wanted them to think.